Going full YOLO, 100% autonomous coding isn't a solved problem yet, especially on complex tasks. Think about building a full Slack clone with all its features. The AI ends up carrying a ton of context, way too broad for its scope. That triggers improvisation, hallucinations, because the agent will always try to answer. Here you can see exactly what it's doing. It's completely stuck on adding dependencies because I deliberately gave it a very broad goal. I asked it to build an entire Slack clone with all dependencies in one go, and it got completely stuck. It's not improvising, but it can barely get the project started. Most popular AI IDEs try to mitigate this by splitting context into many small pieces. In Claude Code, there's a tool called To-Do List. It spins up automatically every time you do something. That's pretty handy. Windsurf also has something called the plan. You can apply it to each request you make to your agent or chat. That works well too. And recently, Cursor added its own to-do list. Since version 1.2, there's a planning agent, a to-do agent that generates plans, essentially a structured to-do list. This is where the SOP concept comes into play. Initially, this wasn't something created with AI in mind. It's generally used for organization. These are enterprise organization processes, but they apply really well to AI. It can really help AI organize itself, but it can also help us better document the projects we're working on. And for complex projects, it's really great to have access to this documentation that can be generated by AI, or that can be assisted, that can be generated by AI. So concretely, how will this work for our famous Slack clone? Here's the script we'll give to the AI. So here, we're only going to ask the AI to generate the major steps for creating the project, so creating the Slack project. It's important to note that we'll ask the AI to generate checkboxes. So why checkboxes? It will force the AI to check off what it has done, and especially to keep track of what it's doing throughout its interactions with the agent. So that's important. This is really what will help prevent the agent from hallucinating or improvising. So here we can see it has generated the major steps for creating the project. Obviously, there are many steps, because here you need to understand that this is a major step, this is another major step, etc. So it's a really massive project creating a Slack clone. When we think of a complex project, it's not necessarily what we think of first, but that was for the example. After that, what we'll ask the AI to do is to generate for each major step, actually a more detailed SOP with sub-steps. So here's the script we'll now give to the agent, so it can work autonomously on generating more detailed SOPs. To improve readability a bit, whether for me or for the AI, it's important to put meaningful names, which will actually be the phase names. Still in checkbox mode, and we'll try this. Actually, you need to understand that if we had jumped directly into creating this phase 1, we would have had too much context. We would have had way too much context. So that's why we're going to break this down a bit into several files, because we can see it's starting to do phase 1. So what's going to be interesting in this process is that, okay, it's AI generated. It's a proposal the agent is making to us, but potentially you can change at any time what the AI is proposing to you. If you don't necessarily want the chat component to be called chat, but potentially messaging, it's possible. And actually, what's interesting about generating your own tasks, your own SOP, is that you generate your own documentation. When you're on Claude Code or on Windsurf, even on Cursor, the to-dos that are generated, they're generated by the chat and they don't persist in your application. So there you go. It has finished creating the 12 steps. So here indeed we can see it went quite deep into the details. It made choices on technology selection, implementation choices, and actually you're free to change all of this. You can very well make changes to these plans, and the AI will actually, and the agent will take them into account. That's a bit of the power of SOP. You can very well change things, and then all you have left to do is to execute the first step. And you can even directly mention the SOP in the chat. It gives even more context to the agent. Compared to the beginning of the video, we can see that dependency creation is going rather well. The agent isn't stuck on creating countless dependencies related to its ultra-broad context. Something you can do in generating your SOPs is to ask it to do one task at a time. I feel like with agents today, they're becoming more and more autonomous, and they'll do things more and more independently. I feel like it's still good to review step by step, and that's kind of the principle of having a project in SOP mode. So I would advise you to put at the beginning of phases here, I would advise you to put a sentence or a remark saying that we do tasks one by one and we avoid jumping from one task to another in autonomous mode. And then, once all the subtasks here have been completed, the agent will return to overview and will check off the first step. It will actually check off one by one the steps, and it will move on to the next task. And like that, actually, you have a project that will build itself step by step with context that will be quite limited. Well, here, in the case of a Slack clone, I think the context is still a bit large. But in a complex project, human-sized, let's say, 1 dev or 2 devs in a team, it can be interesting to use this, and it can help, I think, in preventing AI hallucination. So there you go. That was all for me, and I'll see you in a new video from AI Dive.